and the scholarship. So let me hand over to you.
Thank you very much. You can see the Konrad Adenauer Foundation is training politicians, and we always tell young people, if you have a microphone, use it. So welcome on behalf of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's always a pleasure being here at SAIA. For one reason is that we are partners and we feel a little bit home here. But the other one is, we do this Careers Day once a year. And that is one of the events where when we finish it, we always have the impression we have done something good. I'll explain what it means. The Konrad Adenauer Foundation is a German political foundation, and we work very much with politicians. And I have to say that it's not at the end of all activities we are having with politicians that I go out and say that we have done something good and useful. It's a complicated word, politics. These South African politicians are an exemption. I'm talking about the regional part of my work. So just to explain you a little bit what we do. So the Konrad Adenauer Foundation is a German political foundation. These political foundations were created in Germany after the Second World War. Those who know a little bit European history know that Germany was a dictatorship for only a few years, but with a huge impact on German society, on German politics. And after the Second World War, we had to invest a lot in building up the new democracy. And Germany at the time, and that was when Konrad Adenauer, who was the first chancellor of Germany after the Second World War, when he was governing, the German government said, in order to build up a democracy, you do not only need state institutions and schools, but you need non-governmental organizations, civil society as well. And that is why, amongst others, political foundations were created. Those who exist today, 6 are existing. They all are not formally, but via values linked to political parties that are represented in the German Bundestag. So you get a whole variety of political foundations with a different set of values. And these foundations, they work in Germany, especially in order to promote democracy, advise politicians, but they started in the 60s to work abroad as well. So Konrad Adenauer Foundation has a long history of international cooperation as well. And what we do is we work with governments, we work with parliaments, we work with non-governmental organizations, with universities, with political parties. And the basic idea is to promote democracy. Just the way we are functioning, we have offices in, so we are working in like 120 countries right now, worldwide. Quite a number of offices where people like me are directors of regional programs or country offices. So we have a country office here in South Africa, which is based in Cape Town. We moved the office from Johannesburg to Cape Town. When was that? You know, 4 years ago. When I had my first term here as country representative from 2012 to 2016, I was already asked to move to Cape Town. And I said, no, there's too much rain in Cape Town. And I think I'm right. And so now the country office is in Cape Town, but here are 2 regional offices. One dealing with political dialogue in sub-Sahara Africa. That is the program I'm leading. And then we have a media program for those who are interested in media. They're training journalists. They are working with editors and so on. Now, I had to say this about the Konrad Adenauer Foundation because my employer asked me always to do some publicity. And I think it's good that you know who we are. It's a question of transparency as well. A few remarks with regard to the topic. I studied humanities as well. And whenever we do this Careers Day, and I see all these people, and many of you are probably at the end of their studies and starting to reflect, what do I want to do? I get this feeling back I had when I was a student. of humanities. And, I still can remember this mixed feeling that, when you're doing humanities, I did political science, history, and communication science. You do not exactly know what your future job will be. And that creates this feeling I'm not really certain. On the other hand, not knowing what you're doing next year is so exciting. Yeah. I still can feel this spirit. And until today, I say, hey, how would my life have been if I knew from the beginning what all the steps would have been? I found it extremely exciting. But what I heard to learn, and my advice to students like you in this situation is to say, guys, the fascinating thing that you do not exactly know what it means is fun, but you need to get prepared a little bit. Nevertheless, when you're studying medicine, you will probably work as a doctor in hospital. When you study law, you become a lawyer, a judge, or whatever. When you do political science, you have a whole huge field of possibilities, but you need to be proactive. You cannot just sit in your room and wait that someone comes and says, hey, I want to offer you a job. And when I say proactive, that means go out, do what you're doing right now here, participate in these kind of conferences. Try to become part of networks where you meet important people, people who are working for government, who are working for civil society organizations, who maybe are working for university. Nothing is better than a personal contact with someone, that is extremely important. Try to do internships. I'm not really sure what the reputation of internships in South Africa is. There are countries and cultures where interns are used, they are more or less exploited, or in other countries, they would only be allowed to prepare the coffee. But there are countries, there are enterprises where they really are training interns because they use the internships in order already to select future employees. And I'm pretty sure that exists in South Africa as well. And then don't forget what I found always very important is to be engaged in like civil society organizations. Is it benevolent? How you go? Benevolent, yeah, is it? Yeah. So just, without being paid, that is the price you have to pay. Voluntary work. Because these organizations, they have huge networks. You learn how to work in an environment, that is different from university, obviously. And why not get engaged in political parties? Democracies need strong political parties. And unfortunately, I think all the political parties, and I include the German political parties, we lack of young people. We have to be more attractive to young people. And the contradiction here in Africa is huge. I mean, if you see demographics and you see the huge part the young people are playing, you are the majority, but you're totally underrepresented in politics. And it is partly because people are not interested in politics. It's not because political parties are blocking young people, but it is young people obviously are not too much interested. Many young people, that is my experience, they are not ready to go this long way, because in politics you cannot start as a minister. You start here and you have to show that you are good, and then you progress and you progress and you progress. And it might take some time before you can have an impact on political decision makings. Following what's happening in Kenya now, so many people, mainly young people, they say, hey, the political parties, I'm not interested. I go on the street and I see the impact, and after 2 weeks, the government more or less fell. But it is not a constructive way of participating in politics. So if I could choose, I would always try and go the normal way, which is via political parties. And then please, that is my last advice. If you all will have, you will all be in a situation where a future employer invites you as a candidate and they want to test you. I experienced quite a number of these, young people who wanted to work for the Konrad Adenauer Foundation or who wanted to become a CAS SCIA scholar. And some of them were not prepared. They didn't know what the Konrad Adenauer Foundation is. They probably didn't know what SCIA is. They wanted to work to become scholar of the leading African think tank on foreign affairs, which is SCIA. But they had no idea what's happening in Mozambique. Try to be prepared. You do not have to be an expert, but show that you have an interest in international relations when you're interested, when you want to apply for such a scholarship, for example. And then the key thing is you do not always in your situation have to know where you go and what you want, but you have to know who you are. You have to know what your strengths is and where your weaknesses are. And then please work a little bit on your, everybody has weak points. You have to identify them, not just say it doesn't exist. Identify them and work on them. We quite often, I mean, you're participating in our interviews as well. And like young people are coming and they are totally nervous, not the normal way of being nervous but they can't talk anymore. They just sit like a mouse sitting in front of a snake. Oh no, the rabbit. It's the rabbit. Huh? Just if you know that you are this kind of person, train it. Learn how to inspire. There are ways to do it. Ask the journalists; they know how to do that. They're trained in that. So try to be prepared when you do that. That is important. These are only a few advices. I just wanted to say that I have one colleague from our Cape Town office. Nambisa is with us, and then from our office here in Johannesburg, Cynthia is not here right now. I think we lost the banner. She's getting the banners now, but she will then later help you to understand what the CAS SCIA scholarship program is, and we just opened the application period. And for those who are interested, you will be able to apply from now on, and Cynthia will tell you how that goes. So again, wonderful being here. Elizabeth, thank you very much. Now I was talking too long, but it's just an expression of the fact that I love to be here. So thank you very much and all the best. And thanks to the experts.
There we go. I'm audible. Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Dr. Dix, for your welcoming and opening remarks. Now, I am a young person and somebody decided to give me a mic, Dr. Dix, so I'm going to use it. My name is Isabel Bosman. I work here at SCIA in the African Governance and Diplomacy Program, where I do research on all sorts of things from nuclear energy governance to African elections. And together with my colleague Laura Rubich, who's sitting in the front here, and you'll see her shortly, we'll be your moderators for the evening. So I'm going to ask our first three panelists on the program to make your way to the podium. Well, I just quickly remind everyone why we are here today, and it's really, really great to see this hall filled with people again. For some time, especially during the COVID years, we had to do this virtually. So Laura and I were both CAS SCIA scholars. I was a scholar in 2020 and Laura was a scholar in 2022. So you can see the continuity that comes with the position. So just some quick background. I'm assuming everyone has read this on the program, but this is what stood out for me the most. The staggering youth unemployment rate in South Africa of 45.5%, and highlighting that the situation is particularly acute for those holding humanities degrees who may face the misconception that their educational background lacks practical value in the job market. This event this year was also shaped around the current landscape, which is one of popular media that is rife with mis and disinformation. And in light of this, and I think Elizabeth touched on that in her introductory remarks, the ability to think critically that is provided by a humanities degree becomes so much more crucial during this time. So I'm now going to hand over to Laura, who will introduce our panelists, and I'm sure we will all be learning a lot from them as they share with us their career journeys and the challenges and opportunities that they encountered on the way. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you very much, Isabel. And I'd like to take this opportunity and abuse the agency of having a mic to say well done to the CAS scholars for putting this together. So maybe one more hand of applause for them. As Isabel said, we both came through the program, we both had to do this, and it is not easy. So well done. So I have the privilege of handing over to our first speaker, who is Professor Bason Zenze. He is an associate professor in the Department of Politics and International Relations at the University of Johannesburg. I'm not going to do a full bio of any of our speakers because that is what we want to hear from you. So I'm going to hand over without further ado.
Thank you very much, Lauren. And, you know, the last time I was here, the president of Finland was here. So I'm tempted a little bit to say all protocol observed, right? But in any case, good afternoon, everybody. So I must say it's great to be here because Wits is actually one of my alma maters. And I must say I did spend a little bit of time as an undergrad in the library upstairs. But I think had I spent a little bit more time in that library, I might have been even further in life. I might have become a CAS SIRE scholar. But one of our graduates actually is here as a CAS SIRE scholar, and that is Chrismon Olwachen, wherever she is. I think she's done a stunning job. Yes, a round of applause for Chrismon. So, as has been said, my background is in political science. I'm with the Department of Politics and International Relations at UJ, and also currently playing the role of Vice Dean, actually, in the Faculty of Humanities. So, it's less fancy than it sounds. So I think I do have somewhat of an overarching view of humanities beyond just my own discipline or specialization. So really, what is then a humanities? And here I will say humanities and social science education. For some, it's a distinction without a difference. For some, it's a very, very strict differentiation, right? So humanities, traditionally, you would say it's your philosophy, history, and languages. And then social sciences, psychology, sociology, politics, anthropology, and so on. And now there's even a split further for communication sciences. And I'm glad that Dr. Dix has almost done across the board, actually, the communication side, the social science side, and the humanities side. So how do we then define humanities education and its importance? And my answer will not surprise you. There are many different answers, right? There's not just one answer or one way to define the humanities. But what it is a broad curriculum that ultimately gives you the tools to critically and empirically examine society, right? To critically and empirically examine society. You are able to do things that your friends in physics cannot do. I mean, they can tell you about the angular momentum of the galaxy and so on, but they can't talk about society in a sophisticated and empirical and intricate way as you can, right? And so you sometimes hear people, maybe here we downplay ourselves quite a bit. You sometimes hear people saying that in humanities and by extension, the social sciences, there's no such thing as a right or wrong answer. It's one of the things that makes me mad, actually. In humanities, there's no right or wrong answer. And I think that's the first failing, actually. The is a right and wrong answer. That's what you're being trained to discern, right? Right from incorrect. But what you can say and what you should start saying is there's more than one correct answer, but there's a limit. There has to be a limit when you talk about South African foreign policy. You can't just say anything you want. You have to be confined to the data, actually. And so this is part of where we sell ourselves short as humanities. And so the complex understanding of society is very demanding and cannot be trivialized, which means that it's not for everyone, right? This humanities journey or line of work, it's not for everybody, just as law is not for everybody, just as being a physician is not for everybody. Humanities is not for everybody. But I think we do have a lower barrier to entry. We must be honest. We do tend to be seen as the backup of the backup, right? You want to be a doctor, you don't quite get in there. Your math results are not allowing you to enter through the door. So you go to law. That's also not working out. I'll just go to the humanities, right? I think we do need to be selective. I think one of my goals, one of my wishes as Vice Dean is that by the time I'm done, there should be a higher and more rigorous entry process actually into the humanities without, of course, discriminating against anybody. But there has to be that litmus test for, does this person really know what they're getting into? Because many of my students tell me, for example, they didn't know what political science was until they got into the university. So I think that's part of the problems. And so humanities, as has been said, is quite open-ended, and that's why it's a bit of a struggle sometimes, or it seems to be a struggle to make a career for yourself. But what I can say is that you are definitely going to get a job as a humanities graduate. I can't tell you how many letters of recommendation I sign on any given day, and how many times I get the good news from my students and our graduates that they've gotten the job. I mean, just last week, we've sent somebody to China to go and work for the BRICS Bank. Just yesterday, I was signing a letter, someone who's being interviewed to work for the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, right? And he's got the job, right? He was actually getting promoted because previously we had recommended him or had signed a letter for him to be an intern, and now going to be a specialist in there. And there's many, many places you can go and work. I mean, when I do these kinds of talks, sometimes I will list out the different careers, and my list so far, and I think it is pretty exhaustive, 25 different careers you can do with just a politics and international relations degree alone. So you're definitely going to get a job. There's many people looking for people like you in the private sector, in government, in NGOs, in embassies, you name it. There's many, many places looking for you. So our graduates are just thinking on the way here, where are politics and humanities graduates, at least from UJ, right? And I think this CAS scholarship should also include UJ, right? Something to think about, Dr. Dix. So they are at Ipsos. So they are at Ipsos putting out very accurate poll numbers about electoral outcomes, right? We've got graduates there at Ipsos who were at the forefront of analyzing what the polling data was saying and who was likely to win. And within a very small margin of error, accurately predicting results. They are at Corruption Watch, holding our officials accountable. They're at Mail and Guardian, writing powerful journalistic articles. They are at the United Nations, as I've alluded to. They are at the African Union. They are at, even in the private sector, at Abbott Laboratories. We've got our people there. So you name it, we've got people there leading and flourishing, right? Not just having jobs, but having careers. So what do these people do, or what have these people done that you can adapt? I've pinned it down to 5 things, right? And I won't be too long. I'm not in a classroom, I'm aware, and so I'll restrain myself. Well, the first I've already touched on. They want to build a career for themselves, not just get a job, right? And so you won't just get out of university, get the job you want. You must have a goal, an ultimate goal that you are working towards. So they want to build careers, not just to get jobs, which means they give it their all. They go all out. And secondly, actually, they were attentive as students, right? They were very proactive, attentive students. Why does this matter? Because they understood the importance of the education they were getting. They understood the guiding philosophy behind the modules that they took and behind the degree which they were doing, so that when they look for jobs and go to interviews, as Dr. Dix has said, they can actually articulate themselves, right? They can speak to the skills that they have because they know they have these skills. They were not just doing assignments. You know, they understood that when I'm being given an assignment, I'm being molded into a researcher. And that's the skill that everybody wants from you. Thirdly, they went beyond the curriculum that was offered. I could go on and on about this. You know, they are lifelong learners. You know, they are people who are curious. And I'd really like to say a word in favor of lifelong learning and lifelong curiosity. Among countries, the strengthening of institutions, impact of policies, reduction of poverty, and so on. And I was just thinking, actually, you go through the list of the Sustainable Development Goals, right, which is humanities aspirations. There's not a single one of them that can be done without a humanities and social sciences person in the room, right? You can list all of them: poverty, quality education, gender equality, peace, justice, and strong institutions. You need a humanities scholar in there. So that's a case to say you are a commodity as a humanities graduate. And so research, what is research? It's not just finding information on the internet, right? That's not research. You need to know what questions to ask to begin with. And that's where that critical humanities and social science education comes in. You're not just pulling some information off the internet. You know what questions to ask to begin with. And you know what credible sources to go to. And just as importantly, you have the skills to analyze that information and ultimately produce something new and meaningful. You're not just pulling, copy and pasting. You know how to synthesize, some say manipulate data. If you go to the more quantitative side of social sciences, you know how to manipulate data and produce new meaning, synthesize different types of information. So this is a skill you can apply at any number of workplaces. Then fifth and finally, these people are passionate, right? And this is what sets apart the low or moderate performers from the exceptional, right? They are passionate. And again, passion will take you far, excuse me. Passion will take you far in any line of work: surgery, finance, legislation, whatever line of work, be passionate about it. And I would say here, they are passionate and they begin to specialize as soon as possible. So yes, you are in your undergraduate studies or early postgraduate studies, but already you can begin to see a set of problems that need to be solved, and you therefore build yourself into one of the leading experts in that problem area or related sets of problems. You begin to specialize. So just in short, I would say then, to sum up these 5 pieces of advice: seek a career, not a job. Be aware of what you are learning. While you are learning it, psychologists call it metacognition. You are thinking about thinking. You're thinking about learning as you're doing it, so that you can articulate what it is that you're going to bring to this organization. Then read widely, be a great researcher and a writer. That's what you're being trained to be. Be passionate about societal problems, and train yourself to be an indispensable expert. So go and do these things for the next 6 months to a year, and come back and tell me how things have gone out. I suspect they'll have gone very, very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Nzenze. I feel inspired, and I think you do too. Thanks so much for that, I think, insightful advice, even for someone in my position. I now have the pleasure of handing over to Mr. Tsotang Setabela from the International Federation of the Red Cross. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so thanks, Tabela. That's my name. Actually, I'm from the South African Red Cross. So the Federation of the Red Cross, it's the international side of the Red Cross, and those our colleagues that we are working with. And we have some of them there at the back from the Federation of the Red Cross. Yeah, I think I'm very privileged enough to sit here, more especially as a young person who is still a youth among yeah, I don't want to go there. And this is also part of what I will be talking about, to say our role as young people in this humanitarian field. As much as we can see, not to say otherwise, the panel that is here, it's old. The people that gave us remarks when we check their age, again, it's something else. And that's where we as young people, now we need to take initiative. As part of the remarks, he did say that even in the political scale, most of the people that are leading us, enough, they are wise. Yes, we understand that. But we as young people, I think it's our time for us to take the role in this world or in this global. So I'm from the South African Red Cross Society. I've been a volunteer of the South African Red Cross Society since my school days, meaning in high school, 2003, 2004. I'm still under the age of 35. So, yeah. Or internationally, so yes, but nationally, so I still qualify. So, yeah, here what I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to talk about the society itself and what opportunities does the society have. First of all, the South African Red Cross movement, it is a movement that has been operating for more than 161 years. And we have about 191 Red Cross societies in all over the world. And normally what we do work with our federation and also the which is called the Federation of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, and also the International Committee of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. The most important thing that we do as a Red Cross, we are under a humanitarian aid and emergency response. What do I mean by that? When I say emergency response, we get involved in deploying people whenever there are disasters, more especially in where the Red Cross is. We do employ in people to be able to provide with immediate assistance. And what do I mean by immediate assistance? Remember, we are an humanitarian organization. The most basic needs that people need whenever the disaster strike or whenever there is a conflict, that's where you will find us being able to provide people with that. And again, also on the field of operation, we are able to have a community engagement where we talk with our communities and be able to monitor them even after the disaster or even prior to disaster, because of what we need to understand when we talk about disaster management. We also talk about preparedness. We need to be prepared to say, what if that will happen? And by us preparing that simply means that we as the Red Cross, we also need to make sure that at the end of the day, we do have as logistic and supply chain management, because of at the end of the day, we'll need resources whenever something happens, that we take those resources and be able to assist the communities. So that's what we do. And also, we are in the field of health and medical services. What do I mean by that? When you talk about medical services, we as Red Cross, we are still in need, even though we do have, but we are in need with the nurses, your doctors, but what is most important, mental health professionals. That's something that probably maybe we're not looking into. Even us as humanitarians, at times we really need that, because if you find myself that today I went somewhere else to offer relief or to do a certain job, at the end of the day, I need to distress. Who need to assist me? These professions, they are the people that we do need in the Red Cross, and these are the opportunities that are also available at Red Cross. Besides also talking about such professions, we as Red Cross also, we deal with legal and policy roles. When we talk about that, we talk about the international humanitarian law. We need people who have the background of the international law. Even it is just a basic law, because at the end of the day, these people, they are the ones that will be able to sit down and be able to formulate frameworks and be able to formulate documents that will be able to assist us. These are the people that will be able to also negotiate for us on another structures, and making sure that even our government also gets involved, because of one thing that we should also know is that as a Red Cross, we are the auxiliary to the government, meaning that we do not even need the government to request us to do something. Same goes apply to the government. The government does not need our invite for them to invite us to do something. So these are the types of also individuals that will definitely need in the society. And these are the opportunities that are also there. We cannot shy away, since we are a humanitarian organization. We deal with a lot of donors. We deal with a lot of funding. We deal with people who just want to give us money. But at the end of the day, we need to have a proper administration. We need to have a proper finance, because at the end of the day, we get funding from whoever that we get funding from. We need to report, because come tomorrow, if we are unable to do so, then that simply means that the organization cannot be able to grow. Then that simply means that our aim, which is to alleviate human suffering, we cannot be able to reach that, because yes, it's an organization. We are not an income generating organization, but we depend on donors. So such graduate and such people in such fields are also needed, including also for the HR role. I myself, I'm a graduate of HR. If you ask me at that time, I didn't see myself working for any humanitarian organization. All I wanted, it was to work for that big private company, and me being able to earn thousands and thousands or millions. But at the end of the day, this role of the sector that we are at, beside everything, what it is important, it is the passion. We need to have to be passionate with what we are doing, because at the end of the day, whatever that we are doing, we are being able to, we are helping the community. Then lastly, not lastly, we have what we call organizational development and community engagement. With organizational development, that's where we deal with, because it's a volunteering organization, that's where we make sure that our volunteers, because at times, we always accept experience, no experience, educational background, no educational background. You are welcome as a Red Cross. And it is also our duty to make sure that those people, we do encourage them, and we at least provide them with certain skills that will be able to assist them. Even with our sister partners, the ICRC, I'll just make an example. They do have a program that they do run of migration. So that simply means that the moment you did migration, the moment you deal with that, it is easy for the people who can be able to advocate for those people, because at the end of the day, even if you are a migrant, you still have rights as human. So in short, that's what Red Cross is. And also, lastly, we have our youth program. Our youth program, that's where opportunities for us, where we can get those opportunities. I, for one, was able to also travel, but only beside traveling, as young people, we enjoy exchanging program. But beside that, you also get an opportunity to be able to moderate certain meetings. You can name them, because we have a vast network with your UN, the Youth Invoice, and so forth. So you get the chances to be there and be the advocate of young people in the world. So in closure, what I would like to say is that in conclusion, the careers within the Red Cross movement offer young profession the chances to work in diverse fields while making a significant impact to a global humanitarian effort with opportunity in emergency response, health service, legal advisory, logistic finance, and community development. The Red Cross provide a platform for individuals to grow professionally and contribute to a meaningful change in the world. Engaging in those roles not only fuels a personal desire to help others, but to build a valuable skills and experience that can shape a rewarding career. In closure, as the theme for the Red Cross this year, we are saying that we are keeping humanity alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I'm sure we're all brimming with questions, so keep them on the side. We're going to move to our final panelist, and there will be time for Q&A. So if you do not recognize her from SABC, our final panelist is Leanne Marnus. She's a multiple award-winning broadcast anchor, MC, motivational speaker, and also the UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador. Over to you.
Thank you. You don't mind if I stand? I'm not very good at sitting. I really am not. And I'm not very good at planning either. So unlike my esteemed fellow panelists here, they have notes and they have written you an entire lecture of what to expect today. And I just arrived here with a head full of memories and a heart full of passion. And that's all I have for you. So today I come from a very different angle. And I never studied humanitarian sciences. I was never in any faculty like this. In fact, I was completely opposite to you. I was studying drama and I wanted to take over the world by being an actress or something ridiculous like that. And then I got thrown into the world of media and journalism. And this is what gripped me. And this is something that I feel exceptionally passionate about. But it was only years later that the humanitarian side of journalism gripped me. And this is now something that I think has formed a massive passion project in my life and something that, you know, has led me full circle here. In fact, when I accepted to speak here and be a part of this panel, I didn't even know it had to do with humanitarian work. That's how badly prepared I am. But I found out yesterday that it had something to do with humanitarian things. And this really made me excited because I thought you guys just wanted to ask me questions about what it's like in broadcasting, which you're more than welcome to do. But there's so much more to it. And there's so many more aspects to what we do. And I think the only way that I can begin talking to you is to bring up a story of a man named Kevin Carter. Have you guys ever heard of a man named Kevin Carter? Anyone in this room? Okay, one person. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Well, let me tell you about this man. An incredible photographer. That's what he was. And when I give you the backstory, you'll know who Kevin Carter is. Kevin Carter was a photojournalist. So very different to what I do, but still working in the world of media. And he's there to capture the moments in history, not with words like I do, but with photography. So he worked particularly in apartheid South Africa, and he would go to very terrible situations of necklacing that was happening in townships, looking at the awful way that Black communities were treated in South Africa by the government at the time. He recorded these, he recorded history, he worked for many news organizations, but the New York Times was the one that he particularly did. And he would become part of a group of photojournalists called the Bang Bang Club. Am I getting closer to any of you know who I'm speaking about? Okay, so he formed part of the Bang Bang Club. And the turning point in his life, and this is where I'm going with the story, was he went in 1993 to Sudan. And when you are talking about studying humanities and humanitarian situations, these are the kind of situations that you will be forced to endure if in fact you do decide to go and work for places like the Red Cross, places like the United Nations, or any other organization. I mean, our very own gift of the givers is possibly some of the most incredible humanitarians that we will ever meet, ever in our lives. And I do hope, if you haven't already, that you get somebody like Imtiaz Suleiman to come and speak to you, because he is the epitome of humanitarian and taking a skill that he learned of being a medical doctor into the field of humanitarian, and how he is changing the face of how we view these disasters. So let me get back to my story. And this is now of Kevin Carter, who goes to Sudan to capture the moments of what is happening there in this immense famine. And there is no food. People are dying. In fact, he captured an image, and it's an image. I know we're a group of adults, but this is how bad it was, that people were so starving that there's a picture that he actually captured of a young boy sucking the back of a cow to try and get some nourishment from this cow's bum. That's how bad the situation was. And this is just to put you into what was going on. While he was there traveling, he took a photograph, and this is a photograph that changed the face of perhaps journalism, and also opened up a very massive conversation of the role in journalists in different situations, particularly when it pertains to humanitarian crisis. He took a picture of what was first believed. It was called The Vulture and the Young Girl. Now are you getting me? Okay. It turns out that that young girl was not a young girl, it was a young boy. But it is a picture of a young baby bent over with her, at the time, we thought it was a her, but it's actually a him, bones sticking out, and a vulture about to eat this baby. And he took this picture. This picture was then published, and it was published in the New York Times. And he actually won the best photography award for this photograph. But it opened up a debate, and it showed the world, like, what kind of an animal was this man to take a picture of a vulture about to eat a baby and didn't intervene? And he didn't intervene. He left it the way it was. That was the scene. That was what he captured. And he carried on touring. Less than a year later, he committed suicide. He couldn't handle the pressure that was on him. He couldn't handle the things that he had seen in his 33 years, because he was only 33 years old. And then he decided to kill himself in his car. He gassed himself to death because he couldn't handle the pressure that came with winning the Pulitzer Prize, because he did win that for the photograph that he took. But the story behind that photograph is that he had armed gunmen from the rebel forces in Sudan following his every move. And when he took that photograph, they had warned him, if you do anything to jeopardize the situation, we will kill you. But at the same time, what that photograph did was it alerted the world to what was going on in Sudan. And people suddenly wanted to know the story of this little boy. Was he okay? Did he survive? How can we help? What can we do? How do we get involved in the situation in Sudan? And so on and so forth. That little boy did die eventually, but it had nothing to do with famine. He died of something much later on in life, but he managed to survive. And the amount of help that came from that photograph and the attention that the world got from that photograph was incredible. So let me bring you back to the world of being a humanitarian and the world of broadcasting and media. Without a free media, you can shut shop and go home, because without doing what you do and without having the media helping you do what you do, the word will never get out there. One of the darkest times that I felt was working during the Zuma years. And I'm very open and honest about that. I remember arriving at work one day, and we had at the time, the chief operating officer of the SABC was a man named Claudie Motswaneng. And you all know him very well. Okay, Claudie. So Claudie suddenly brought about a rule saying that we, as the national broadcaster, would never film or have our cameras at any form of protest action, any demonstration, any burning of tires, anything like that, because that was just causing terrible feelings among people, and we didn't want to upset viewers. So from this day onwards, we would never, ever show protest action by South Africans. Whereas when you read deeper into that, it was, if you do not show that somebody's protesting over there, the people living over there think that this world is a perfect world and we're living in the most amazing country, and that we will continue to have the ANC govern us until Jesus Christ comes, because they have been touched by God and they're doing such amazing work. Because I switch on the TV and all I see are cartoons and happy stories and singing songs, and everything is perfect in this country. Why? Because our cameras have been switched off, because the microphones have been packed away, and we are not allowed to go to that community who do not have electricity, they do not have food, they do not have water, they have sewage running down the streets, they do not have education, they do not have schools, they do not have varsities, they do not have roofs over their heads. Schools don't have desks, they don't have blackboards, they don't have teachers, they don't have computers, there is no signal, there is nothing. But we are not selling that story. We're just thinking that the world is perfect. So let me tell you something. Free media is the key to the success of any humanitarian country and field that you work in. I'm not telling you to go into media if that's not what you want to do, but if it is what you want to do, and having this behind you is probably one of the best things that you can do, purely because you are going to tell the story from the eyes of a humanitarian. And when I say the eyes of a humanitarian, from what I have learned, and this is something that I've learned over the years, and one of the lessons that I learned working for the United Nations High Commission of Refugee, and I do a lot of work for them and have the privilege of going into a lot of refugee camps around the world. I've been into a refugee camp in Syria, in Lebanon, in Kenya, in I've gone blank, Malawi, and most recently in Mozambique. Somebody mentioned the Mozambique situation. Don't think that Mozambique is all about cashew nuts and beautiful white beaches. Go further up north and then come and talk to me. But we're not allowed to talk about that. You try to find the stories of what's happening up further north. In fact, it's so bad that we were going to go live when we were just at the bridge where you go into the far north, that suddenly everything was perfect. And then our cameras, the satellite was shut down, because whoever it was knew that we were about to go live to tell the story of what's going on there, and they shut our story down. So Mozambique, it's a border away from us. We need to keep that story alive. We really, really do. But nonetheless, working with people that are in the field of humanitarian, they don't do it. You do not do what you do for you. You work for others. And that's what makes you the best employees. It doesn't matter where you go. You are selfless individuals. You do not come into this particular degree to make your lives unbelievable. You're here to make others unbelievable. And that blows my mind, because where I'll start wrapping, because I know you want to do a lot of questions, and this is what I do for a living, so I could speak to you forever. So I'll sort of wrap up on one story that really got to me, because this was a man who worked for the United Nations High Commission of Refugee, and he was heading up the Southern African division, Valentin Sotsoba. I went to his farewell. I think it was the end of last year or the year before. I don't know. My dates are messed up. But one of the most incredible things that I saw this man standing up and giving his farewell speech was the tears that I saw in his eyes, because he felt that, and he was telling us stories of what he did. And in fact, every country that he went to, it was just a matter of weeks before some form of violence broke out. And he was in the Rwandan genocide, and he told you the stories of how they'd ask you if you'd like, would you like a long sleeve or a short sleeve? Does anyone know what a long sleeve or a short sleeve is? Yeah. Would you like your arm cut off here, or would you like it cut off there? And that's the world that he lived in. And he got trapped in that without his ID document, without showing that he worked for the United Nations. So he got thrown into one of the stadiums that was then set up as a place where they were literally going to kill everybody that was there. But somehow, a massive story, he managed to get out of there by finding somebody that he knew that had a car that was going, but he was not allowed in that. But he managed to catch the UN. This is a book you've got to read one day when it comes out. But it's incredible, the stories that people have to tell. And he was lost in there for about 2 weeks until he could get out of there. And people had thought that he'd been killed, but he wasn't. But for me, what really got to me was him standing here and talking to us about numbers of refugees. When he started in his position, there were, what was I mean, I only know numbers from about 2000. So just to tell you, there are 22, in the year 2000, there were 22 million refugees. In this year, 2024, there are over 130 million refugees. And this is caused by fighting, war, greed, politics, all of those things that create chaos in a country that people have to run for their lives. It is beyond your control. It is controlled by the elite few that are greedy. Now, he stood there with tears in his eyes, knowing that from when he started his job until when he's left his job, the situation increased 100-fold, 1,000,000-fold. And he felt like he didn't do a good enough job. But deep down, when we heard his stories, he did the most incredible job, because there are things that are beyond your control. But what you have studied and what you know and what you are equipped with, and more importantly, that passion that you have inside your heart that I told you I arrived here with, it's what's in you. This is why you've studied this industry. And you will make a difference. You will make a massive difference in any field that you go into, because you go into it with your heart. And that's what's important. And even if you manage to help one person, it's the one person who will help that next person, who will help the next person. It may sound like a cliche, but it's not a cliche. I have hundreds of examples of people that I have helped, and I don't even know that I helped them. No, I know I helped them. It's the tens of thousands that I don't know that I've helped. That are the stories that are untold and unbelievable. So I'm here for questions, and I know that's what you want to do right now. So there's a lot more that you'll hear from me, but that's really just my opening in terms of humanitarian and the media, which is hand in hand and very important.
Thank you so much, Ilya. Give another round for all of our panelists. Well done. They moved us, inspired us, and gave us a lot to think about. Before we progress to Q&A, I'm going to ask them to vacate their seats at the podium, and then I am going to invite the representatives from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO. They are Lusa Poi, Capello Ramongane, and Albert Geldenhuys. To our online audience, please post any questions you might have for our speakers in the Q&A section. We are monitoring it, and we will make sure that your questions are aired.
One, two. Aha, there you go. Can you hear me now? There at the back. Great. Okay, my name is Albert Geldenhuys. I'm from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. And, you know, today for me, one of the most important things are actually just to make this to you guys real, to make it feel a little bit more experiential. There's a lot of theoretical things we can speak about, but I brought two of my colleagues with that recently returned from postings, one from them from Mozambique, by the way, that can actually speak a little bit more about that. But let me just quickly start with, I hope, I'm also actually one of those people that don't like really to sit. Let me see if this thing works. Great. It's nice to control things with one click of a button, I want to quickly go back to the previous slide. One day I want to be, and I always start with this because I would like you guys really to dream and to keep to that initial thinking what you would like to be. You know what? Today we've got careers like we've never seen before, If you think today of a media architect, what is a media architect, You've got positions available that are definitely out there that have never been there before. But it links to, I believe, to something of your DNA and who you are and your disposition. And what's very important to me is that there's a lot of things you can do, but what you are is much more important. And you as a humanitarian student are really those people that bring the eyes and the ears and the hands and the feet to other people. But now, one day I want to be, and this question was out there in one of our brilliant cartoonists in South Africa, Zapiro, depicted it this way. You know, what do you want to be? Engineer, educator, and so forth. And the person, well, I want to be employed. Isn't it so? Some of you want to ask you now, what do you want to be? Like, can I just be employed, you know? All right. Earlier, they threw me into that room and asked me all these difficult questions. But I would really like to, one of the things I told them is that, listen, you want to be employable. In the beginning of the year, our department received 50,000 applications for internship. Do you know what that looks like? Imagine 50 schools with 1,000 kids each, all right? You have to go through each and every CV. What makes the one CV stand out above the other? Let's say someone is from the same university, same qualification, international relations, both from UJ, you know, both from, say, West Dean. What would make that different? How can I choose? What should I do? And you have to know, dear students, that you have to stand out. You have to be employable. So number one is marks, okay? Make sure your academics are up there, all right? Differentiate and connect. In what I mean by that is get involved in some of these societies like SIRE. Get involved. Get your hands dirty. And for now, in this field, make sure that you can also speak an international language. All right. I know we're a little bit pressed for time. I don't want to say too much, you know, related to what we do because I want to give it to my esteemed colleagues. Just a quick one. I want you to know that career is something that a person chooses, okay? This is not your mom or dad or your brother or your sister. It's you, okay? Whatever it might be, you choose, all right? Yes, your mom, your dad's got great idealizations for you. Oh, I want my child to be a doctor. Can't you be a doctor, Mike, you know? Because then I'll look good. And I'll like make a lot of money. I can tell the whole neighborhood my son is a doctor. That is what they want, isn't it so? And they want to walk around and so forth. But you need to choose, all right? You are the driver of your career, all right? The good thing is you're already this far, all right? And it's an amazing thing. Not a lot of people get to this seat. So just give yourself a hand of applause first and foremost. You know, well done. Please tell your neighbor, well done. You've made it thus far, you know. Okay. All right. Let me just quickly run through this one. All right. So let me just speak a little bit about ourselves. We're the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. I want to quickly see who can tell me that picture in the far left top corner. Who can tell me what organization that is? Anyone? Hands first. Don't shout out, please. Okay, your left there. Okay, there. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I believe that's the that's the United Nations logo.
You are absolutely correct. Please, here's a little, you know, promotion material for you. All right, the second one in the middle. Yeah. Oh, now the hands are going. Yes. Finally, we got yes. Say again. Very good. Can we go? You go. Let's see the top right one. Anyone there? Yes, yes, yes. Brilliant. Come forward, please. You know, I feel like a Mary Poppins pocket. Hey. All right. Who can help me with? Okay, now I'm going to take that a little bit further. Oh, there's a hand already there. Top, bottom left. Yeah. The one furthest to the left. What is it? They see now. What you wanted to read that? Yes, the furthest one to the left. BRICS, very good, very good. Let's give a hand for you now. Well done. Very good. But, what does BRICS stand for? Okay, yes. Yes, you. Excellent. Let's give a hand. Okay. All right, please come forward. Okay. Good. All right. Brilliant. Well done. You guys are well informed. And I think that's the other thing. Keep your eyes and ears on the floor and read the news. All right. Now, we as a department are basically the face of this. And last one is always the World Economic Forum. People like, you know, when I had more of these things, I would have gave it out as well. But as a department, we are the face of South Africa in these forums. Now, that's extremely exciting. You can imagine that. You are in an international space. and in a place where you basically have to represent South Africa on a number of different topics. Okay. They might ask you, so why have South Africa, abstained from resolution 115732? It's then when you say, can I have some more caviar, please? That Sauvignon Blanc looks very, tasty. No. Then you need to know, all right? You need to know that moment exactly. So keep on reading, know what South Africa is offering, okay? Because if they want to know about the wines and all the things, you'll be able to speak about it, okay? All right. Now, let me run further. If this thing is a little bit... Is it working? Yeah, that's a very good idea. Thank you so much. I once saw this cartoon of someone, they said, oh, yeah, there you go. It was a picture of someone on the escalator, and suddenly the escalator just broke, stood dead still. And the people's like, what should we do now? Well, there you go. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to skip over these things because I think this is what my colleagues are going to run over. But basically, this speaks a little bit about our DNA. We are, our DNA is diplomacy, and it's the work of basically connecting South Africa's interests with international. Okay. Now, our domestic priorities. What is our most important domestic priorities? Do you know? What is our most important domestic priorities right now in South Africa? Yes. Sorry, I don't have anything to hand over, but just, yes, ma'am. Peacekeeping is one of them. Yes.
The online audience.
Oh, online audience. Here we go.
Peacekeeping.
Online audience, peacekeeping. Yeah. Anything else? We're all living in South Africa, isn't it so? So what is our domestic priorities here? I'm not asking you now rocket science. We're not moving the science, humanities on the ground.
Say the African agenda.
African agenda, yes. Okay. Guys, think really, really, think more, on the ground. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, would it not be equality?
Equality, yes. Okay. I want you guys to go a little bit more lower. Yes, ma'am. Think of basic needs. Okay. What's our basic needs? Yes. Energy, it's there. Okay, yes. Then fall back. Yes. My goodness. These guys are like there. Okay. All right. I'm going to take one more. Yes. Human rights. Okay. So all of these things are true. They're part of those domestic priorities. But how about food security, water security? Okay. How about education? How about land reform? How about health? Isn't it so? These are some of our basic domestic priorities. Now, when you take those domestic priorities and you list, they become foreign policy. And so it's not this, foreign policy, foreign policy, our foreign policy. It's very simple in the way that we basically elevate our domestic priorities and we elevate it, and that becomes our foreign policy. So our diplomats here, they basically try to link our needs here with opportunities abroad or bring some of those interests here in a very simple way. Okay. All right. I'm not going to bore you with any of those, discussions. What a diplomat, isn't that a nice picture of a diplomat? Huh? Okay. Picture says it all. I don't have to say too much on that one. I want to quickly give you guys this thing that, there's a lot of different skills and there's a lot of things you always ask, what's needed here, what's needed there. I think for me, then one of the most important things is that as a humanities student right now, the 3 top skills, even international relations, is you have to be able to analyze. You need to be able to interpret, and you need to be able to communicate. Now, the communication part sounds quite simple. Like, I can speak, I can write. Guys, while you're busy writing now, just know that you are practicing to write a proper report, okay? Don't think, I'm just writing, just need to get this thing over and that professor wants it, just give it, Put a lot of effort into it because you're developing your skills right now, okay? You develop your skills how to analyze the situation, interpret that, and be able to communicate. And funny enough, a journalist, what they're doing and what we do, pretty much similar in that sense. All right. Now, I think let me stop basically. I feel like I'm going to go on and on and on and on. Okay, this one is dying again. I think the battery is a bit flat here. The light has left the room. Let me see again. Here we go. Here we go. All right. And I think for the next presentation, maybe I will run there. Okay. These are just some of the things that a diplomat do, okay? And you can see there is a variety of things. One moment it's a history writer, the next moment it's a security, guard basically. You need to know really quite a lot of things. One moment you're an organizer of an event, Mandela Day, National Day. And next moment the president comes and you have to support the president. You need to be a body shield in that way. So there's a lot of those things. Okay, let me quickly run through these things. I'm going to take this thing over. I think you guys have to replace the battery maybe on this one. Ooh, and now it's totally gone. Okay. I want to quickly take this through before I give it over to my colleagues here. You're going to ask me, what do we have to study for this field? Well, for you to know, the study field is now this thing even works without me even. Are you doing this? Oh, you see, starting to get worried. So in the field of international relations, those study fields of international relations, political science, economics, law, business law, development studies, these are the typical degrees and studies, subject that we are looking for our diplomats. At the same time, like any organization, you also need the other side of it. Okay, you need things like finance and HR and IT and so forth. Okay. If there's more questions about it, you can more than welcome to ask us afterwards. But I think most of you are falling in one of those areas. All right. Okay. Good. Now, I think I'm going to go over here and I'm going to quickly swap this around. I'm going to give it quickly over to my colleague, Mr. Ramungani, or Mr. Lusu, sorry, Mr. Lusu boy. The floor is yours. And then I'm going to quickly sit there and we'll just make sure that you all go through. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Albert. Well, let me first thank Saya for having us here. And I need to say it correctly, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. I think if I had this as a student, it'd be very comforting because I completely understand how daunting the next few years for you guys are going to be. I was very privileged to get into DERCO as a cadet in 2015 with my colleague here, Gabriel. And it's been, if I have to maybe put it in a word, and I think a lot of people have touched on it, or at least an element of it, is adaptability. You need to be incredibly adaptable. I think I heard Professor Basso saying there's approximately 25 jobs that you guys can put your name in, but you also need to learn the institution that you're going to be in and be adaptable to what they want of you. So I then ended up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which helped me a lot. But it's, there's a lot of people will want a London or Washington or Addis. I've always wanted a small mission because I realized that that's where you get your hands dirty. That's where you get exposure. There was only 3 transferred officials. It was the administration officer, the consul admin. It was the who's from DERCO. It was the colleague from Home Affairs who was dealing with birth registrations, consular issues, and deaths and things of this nature. Saudi Arabia, as some of you will know, we have a lot of teachers and nurses there, medical practitioners, engineers. We have a lot of South Africans of the Muslim faith that go for Hajj and Umrah. It's a lot of South Africans that go there. So it requires a lot of them being serviced for the things that I mentioned earlier. And of course, when you have a small mission, it means you can do a bit here and there. But my specific job, and it didn't help that the minute I got in there, on the first post, I'm a vice consul. It's the first post, and you do not have we call them heads of mission. Well, we do heads of mission, but we have a consul general. Consul general was not there. The next person in line, I'm the political person. It's me. I'm a month in, I need to be adaptable. Incredibly daunting because you need to deliver. This consulates, embassy, high commission, all the same thing, just semantics, okay? Because we all do all the same work. Daunting because now you need to head this this mission and also do your work. My work entailed trade promotion. Jeddah is an economic hub. Trade promotion, tourism promotion, investment promotion. It means I needed to know everything that's to know about the Hejaz region. Saudi is actually picking up on mining and minerals. South Africa has, we're one of the prime countries to advise when it comes to mining, because we've been doing it for 100+ years and we're quite good at it. We want South Africans to come to Saudi Arabia for those opportunities. I needed to know everything that's needed to know about mineral resources, what it is, our regions. I liaised with the Council of Geosciences, made sure that, for instance, they meet their counterparts and they get to, I saw that Albert had, you're somewhat consultants, right? You're on the ground, so you kind of know what's happening and how you can create those opportunities for South African businesses. Council of Geosciences to meet up with their counterparts and to find some opportunities for them, which they did. I said trade. Also, we visited a lot of chambers of industry and commerce, chambers of commerce and industry. Because in order for you to know what businesses are there, what type of businesses are there, you need to speak to the chambers of commerce because they will be the ones that direct you as to what exactly you need. You can advise people better. You can advise South African companies that want to come to Saudi Arabia. When it comes to an example, I am aware of issues of time. One of the things, I was there from 2019 to December 2022. Of course, this was during COVID. I led the facilitation with 11 people at our mission to bring 6 repatriation flights. And I only say that because I know it was at a time when, I mean, you can't even explain what was happening in people's minds. There were people who did not know how to get to Jeddah from all corners of the country. 2 days notice, you need to make sure that the cars are only have capacity of 2 people. If it's like if there's like 4 seats, only 2 people can sit there. If it's a bus that takes 13 people, only 15. You need permits. You need to write to MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Saudi Arabia. You need to liaise with our DHA here. You need to liaise with our protocol here. You need to, we call it Consular Incident Command Center, KIC. You need to liaise with them to make sure that all of the people that you have there are South Africans, or they are Botswanans, or Botswana, or from Lesotho, because there's no other flight. These are students, some of them, and they have no way of coming back. It is South African missions that facilitated a lot of that. Of course, there were a lot of people with means who assisted and got chartered flights. And, so the issue of adaptability, it also means that you need to go into areas that you never thought you'd be able to come out of, really, and find solutions. And deal with, because you're dealing with people, you must deal with ego. You need to have self-awareness. You need to understand, I need to lower, this chief is going to chow me now. I need to lower my tone. I need to bring it back. Okay, listen, let's start afresh. This is actually what we need. So In conclusion, because I think Kabelo as well needs to speak, you need to be very adaptable because you need to know more about South Africa than anybody. Whether you are in Chile, whether you are in Mauritania, it's not easy. It's a service. You are serving your country. You are an extension of South Africa. Maybe one last point in closing, in that I think maybe we need to demystify diplomats. I was saying to some people that I was talking to outside there, all of you sitting here are diplomats. Every one of you. You're a diplomat for your household, diplomat of your church, of your shul, of your NGO that you're working with, for whatever Stiftung that you're part of. You need to present always the best side of. It's an issue that has to come from inside. You know, that I'm better than this. I need to do better. And it's very fulfilling when you get it right, but you must also be prepared to fail and accept that I'll try again tomorrow. With those words, I'll give it to Kabelo.
Brilliant. I just want to make one thing. You can see it's not boring, you know, and this is still within this field. One day is never the same, and you will be stretched to borders you've never been to. So here we go, Kabelo. Your clicker working? This is my clicker. Your clicker working. My clicker is working. No, it's slower. It's slow. They put the online.
Okay. Good evening, colleagues, professors, doctors. My name is Kabelo Ramngane, and I'm gonna start somewhere different, Mr. Boy. I'm from a township outside, not far from Pretoria, called Mabopane. I spent some years there, then I moved to Germany, Gutenberg, and then I came back and I finished my high school in South Africa, and I was up to here with, I didn't know South Africa. I was embarrassed because I would meet people, say, wait, tell us, you know, we're coming to visit you, because I grew up in Europe. So it's, we want to visit you, you know, where must we go? I didn't have a clue, but ask me about Europe, I had every answer. So I was embarrassed for a year or so. So when I finished high school, I took a gap year, got on a bus, and I went to Cape Town and volunteered for Youth for Understanding, which is a German-South African partnership that sends high school students to Germany. So in that gap year, I traveled, went to Northern Cape, went a bit to Eastern Cape, trying to get to know my country, because who am I, this young, small boy from a township who doesn't even know anything about Northern Cape, but I'm a professor in Europe. Yeah, it was very disheartening, especially growing up in a Pan-Africanist house, in a sense that the literature was there, but it was up to me to pick up the books to teach myself. So I spend this time, then I go into academia as part of the emerging young Black academics that was started by, I think, Dr. Naledi Pandor before Plato Nzimande. And I'm climbing, but in my heart, I always knew that I wanted to become a diplomat. Then the cadetship comes. Cadetship is as a form of an internship. I was attending conferences like the Chairs Conference, higher education, teaching and learning conferences, presenting papers. Then I quit and I go back to the classroom to become an intern because I want to become a diplomat. Like everybody's been saying, it all comes from the heart. Fast forward, when I finished my program, I get called and it's like, look, there's the special invoice on the Middle East peace process, which was then Minister Skoia and Deputy Minister Pahad. They need support in the office. I'm like, I hate conflict. Why you? I don't want to do conflict let's do economic promotion, let's do the soft issues. Let's do global health governance. I don't mind. They say they call for it. So I go. And then they say, no, the special envoys will no longer be retained. You're free. I said, good. I said, okay, where are you taking me? I said, you're going to the Russia desk. I'm like, really? Okay. Okay, I accept. I said, okay, I go to the Russia desk. We're dealing with Ukraine, we're dealing with Russia, we're dealing with Belarus, Kazakhstan, all the stans bordering Russia. Okay. Okay, I'm okay. Then my turn comes to say, okay, posting, you're eligible. And I see on the list, Munich and Berlin. I'm like, this is me. This is a calling. They say, no, bro. Mozambique. 2 minutes left, okay. They say Mozambique. Whenever I was in Pretoria, I made sure that every Sunday I go to Mabopane to get my haircut at Chisco and spend time at the car wash with my old school friends and, homeschool, whatever. My barber was Mozambican. But in my mind, I never thought of Mozambique as a posting option. In my mind, personally, I've heard passport, like when they used to have those temporary black ones. I never even thought of visiting Mozambique, but it's just next door. I wanted to catch a flight to go overseas. And I'm like, okay, I accept. So there's always little birds chirping. They say, look, the lockdown is coming. It's either you're going or staying, but we know it's gonna be hard. Got my family in the car. They drove from Cape Town to Pretoria. We changed cars. We drove to Mozambique. We were the last people to cross the border when they were closing the gates. What an experience. Good for me, exciting, but of course the family is like, but what is going on here, Dad? Are we running from people? So we're practicing. Okay. So I get to Mozambique. The batteries are dead again. Okay. I get to Mozambique and people ask me, but what is a diplomat? I can't read that. What does it say?
You can go around.
May I?
Stand up.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. So all my friends ask, but you say you're a diplomat, you have this maroon passport. I said, can you help me maybe? When I say next, you just, thank you. Okay, back. One, back one. Back two. Back three. Back, sir. Oh, I only have 2 minutes left. Okay, anyway, it's fine. So basically, my friends think I'm busy touring the world. My mom thinks I'm sitting at the UN making big decisions. Society thinks I'm donating some money that I don't have. My boss thinks I don't do anything, okay? I think I'm Rambo, definitely. But what I do is a lot of research, like Lucy explained. Okay, but actually it's all of that. Next step. I will explain why. Thank you. Okay. So as a diplomats, we all have heads of mission, which is the ambassador. I was at a high commission. He's the high commissioner. And upon arrival, he gets fetched by this gentleman in the military attire. He's called an aide-de-camp. He's an assistant. Okay, but diplomats like using fancy words. Aide-de-camp. He's an assistant. Next. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Anyway, we have to present himself to the president of the country because he's basically the representative of our president in Mozambique. If the president is not there, he has the authority to speak on behalf of the president with consultation. You can't just decide. They whisper, okay. And that's us assisting. This is now General Sipiwe Nyanda, our former first SANDF chief, who is now the High Commission in Mozambique. So we had to facilitate his arrival and presenting his credentials. Next, sir. Following the engagement with the president, our first point of entry will always be the foreign ministry. And here, our foreign ministry is DERCO. Please familiarize yourself with it, because I'm sure some of you would want to go study abroad, and you have to apostle all your documents only at DERCO. You can't do it anywhere else. And whenever you're in a country outside South Africa, your first point of call and assistant will always be the High Commission or the embassy or my vice consul there. Next one. We have a saying in our department, because we have so many meetings with ministers, they say, hurry up and wait. So you rush to the meeting and then you have to wait until everything comes together. Amongst the jobs that we were doing was facilitating engagement and improving relationship between South Africa and Mozambique. And in doing that, we also meet with other embassies. And this is when we paid a courtesy call to the High Commissioner of Botswana, Mr. Gobe, who has now went back home. Also taking note that being a diplomat is, you have to adapt because there's a constant change. You're 4 years out of the country and maybe 2 or a number of years back home. So those relationships, you need to learn how to manage them, because today you have good friends with the High Commissioner of Botswana, tomorrow he's gone. Now you need to be very good friends with the new High Commissioner. So that personality, that drive, it can only come from inside. Sir? Please don't wait for me. Then let's just, you just press, it's okay. This is after the High Commissioner has now presented his credentials, now he can receive guests. So now we were receiving the Dutch ambassador who came now, who was now new, and then he's now coming to introduce herself to us because we are the old school. So now we have the responsibility to take care of the other diplomats. Here, I think the Red Cross is here. We were in Cabo Delgado getting a briefing from the Red Cross about the situation on the ground, because as you know, I think Ms. Leanne mentioned it in the beginning that Mozambique cannot be forgotten. So we are part of that. And this is also us engaging with the UNDP, because we have a water project close to Marakweni, where we're trying to supply water to the district, because they don't have any direct tap water. So with working with IPSA, now we have a project to provide water in Mozambique. And of course, we had to meet the first citizen of where we are stationed. This is having a meeting with the mayor of Maputo to discuss the implementation of the UNDP project. We're not always wearing suits, please don't mind. I'm running out, yeah. Okay, this is us engaging. I'm sure you're very familiar with this gentleman. I think it's the new group CEO of ESCOM. That was then and the owner of Gijima. They came to pay us a courtesy call because we're discussing the future of Hewlett and where it's going. And also we managed to discuss some energy matters to try and secure, to make sure that there's no more load shedding. Okay, there's our team from DBSA. I'm showing you these pictures. Please follow, because you will see the different type of stakeholders we're dealing with and how much you have to learn and grasp to ensure that the mission is fully functional. Can I have one more minute, please, sir? Yeah, that's what I'm asking him to speed up the pictures. Okay, and this is us facilitating an agreement between Transnet and the CFM, which is the Transnet equivalent in Mozambique, to ensure that our locomotives share the same sport. And of course, we have South African companies in countries. We also engage with them. We had to go visit Sasol in Nyambani province, where we support them whenever they have challenges. This is one of the hospitals that Sasol built in Nyambani. So as much as there's foreign direct investment from us, they also assist the communities. And South Africa is very big on making sure that we leave a footprint wherever we are of humanitarian assistance, and also engaging our companies to take the human face in their business dealings. Next, sir. I'm running out of time. You're gonna miss the cool pictures, sir. Next. Okay, celebrating Africa Day. Next.
By permission, I think we might have to ask for another presentation.
Next. I just want to show them.
The last cool picture.
Yeah, take just again. It's very slow. I just want to show you guys the coolest thing that I've experienced as a diplomat. And for me, I never thought I would. Please. I should assist him, Professor. Thank you. Okay. Can you see now I'm a technician? Where is it?
You can just because you have a lot of stuff.
Program that both of them were recipients of.
The last four pictures. One, two.
That a big part of it's financially, but please do check it out. Okay, it's a flagship program. It is a program that we would train you for a year in the field of foreign policy, in the in different languages and so forth, and you would be able then to represent South Africa abroad as well. We will advertise it on our website www.durco.gov.za, and make your friend the Public Service Vacancy Circular. Write it down. PSVC, Public Service Vacancy Circular. All the different employment opportunities are available on there. Guys, really look it out and make. Last thing I'm going to tell you, please make detail. Look, pay attention to the detail. If they ask you to certify something, certify it. Okay, if they sign it, sign it. Okay. Otherwise, we take all that wonderful cum laude, masters or PhD, and we say, sorry, you didn't sign. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. So there's the cool picture that thrills me. We were part of the negotiating team to bring assistance to Mozambicans in the north of Mozambique in Cabo Delgado. And we didn't have any transport. So we asked the special forces to take us to where we were. So they put us in a helicopter. When we got there, there were no hotels. So then we asked the Botswana if they can accommodate us on their camp. So that's us sleeping in the camp, right? And we didn't have cars. So we had to ask the Botswana to put us in their patroller. Okay, there's a patrol. Then having to go back, those were our showers, by the way, as diplomats. Fancy suit and everything, but no lavatory. And thereafter, because we didn't have transport back, we had to ask the president's other special forces that were transporting his cars if they could give us a lift. So we had to get into the cargo plane to go back to where we actually started. That's the cargo plane. So basically, if you want to become a diplomat, it's not all fancy and shiny things. You have to put in the work, just like any other job, of course, but you need to prepare to be versatile. You cannot say, this is not for me, I'm from Sandton and my Jimmy Choos won't fit. They're going to put you in the bush. You wanted Germany, we're taking you to Mozambique. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our representatives from DERCO. I think everybody thoroughly enjoyed that presentation. We have slightly less time available for Q&A now. So what I want to ask everyone, I'm going to handle some online questions first, but if you have a question in the room, please raise your hand. And now they've given me a mic and decision-making power. So I will point to someone, and my colleagues, Laura, Kachi, and Chris Mon, will come to you with a mic. And when you ask a question, please introduce yourself. And if we can try to keep our questions short, so we can try to give chance to as many people who could ask a question. So it's now 2:45. We're going to go until 7 with questions. So there's a question from an online participant, Uyaze Dube. He says first, this is such an important webinar. Wish I had gotten this opportunity back in 2019 when I was in my final year of my undergraduate degree. However, there's no better time than now, and this is the perfect time. And then there's a question for Professor Nzenze. You mentioned that social sciences and humanities are similar and different at the same time. I hold a social sciences degree majored in human settlements. It's been very hard to find employment as this is such a niche field, especially in South Africa. What advice would you give to human settlements graduates?
Thanks, Program Director. By the way, can I just say, having listened to everyone speak today, how blessed South Africa is. South Africa's got brains galore, doesn't it? What do they say? No DNA? It's really incredible. So Uyazi's question is quite, I think, quite a common one that many people would pose, actually, in terms of, you've got this qualification, what do you do with it? And I think she's saying that she qualified in 2019. So that's quite a long time. Look, one of the problems that young people face when they've graduated is this hurdle of experience, right? I don't know all the facts, but I would assume that given that it's such a niche area, one of the hurdles there would be the experience question, that even at entry-level jobs, sometimes they want your experience, right? So look, and we've done a lot here as a university, as a sector. In fact, last year we wrote something, myself and the Vice Chancellor of UJ, who's also a labor lawyer, by the way, to say this is quite discriminatory against young people. And there needs to be actually some more robust legislation in terms of opening the door for younger people who've qualified, are being denied this experience, and are now being, are being denied entry because they don't have the requisite experience. So I would say look into what was shared, the circular, right? The public service, what is it? Vacancy circular. I would say put yourself in the way of opportunity and don't necessarily want to go for what you studied just because it's what you studied. There's many paths to getting to where you ultimately want to be. So I'd be very interested in terms of your journey. And my email address, by the way, is on the UJ website. So if you can just Google my name, find me on the UJ website and drop me an email, I would be very happy to learn more and to see what doors we can knock on, because there's a lot.
Am I on? There we go. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to questions in the room. Please, when you ask a question, also state who it is for. I saw your hand first, and I'm right here, so you may have my mic.
Good evening. Thank you for all the information that was shared. My question is towards the department. Sorry. I'm a student of finance last year, but I'm more intrigued with development finance. So my question is, what's the department doing to steward ethical investments? Because I heard you talk about foreign investments. So what are you doing as a department towards that? And I also saw there's a certain organization that's trying to bring up its own credit ratings, because I hear South Africa relies on S&P global ratings. So what's the department doing to steward towards rating our own economic drive? Because I hear economic was one of your pillars. So what's your department doing in that area? And how can you bridge the gap between humanitarian faculty and the finance faculty? Because I believe the two can coexist. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. While the department prepares an answer, we'll go to another question. And then there was a hand at the back that I saw. Okay, let's go there. There will be 3 questions, then we'll get answers, and then we can do another round.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pamela Mbulati, and I had a question directed at Ms. Manas, actually, but any other subject matter expert can feel free to answer. I wanted to ask in particular about your insights into the securitization of migration, seeing as you work for the UNHCR, and the part that the media plays in this and the implications it has on humanitarian norms, like the responsibility to protect.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sakola Bulani. I'm a student, a B admin and IR student at the University of Pretoria. I'm a founder of a 3-month-old organization called Everything Growth, where I aim to bring youth individuals with opportunities, especially youth individuals from poor marginalized communities. So my question, I'm so scared. So my question is, how do I network properly with high individuals? For instance, the individuals that we have here today, how do I network to bring traffic or attention to my organization, especially when it comes to grants and networking opportunities or collaborations, because I'm working with youth individuals. So how can I kind of collaborate with other organizations to bring opportunities to the people that I'm working with?
Okay, and we will take those answers in the order the questions were asked. So I'll start with the department, and then on the second question, panelists can just indicate to me who would like to answer, and I will pass you the mic.
Yeah, that's a very complex question, a very good question, and thank you for it, because it's an important one. I think it's also linked to what South Africa is currently preparing for. Some of you might know that we're preparing for the G20 presidency, which means that we are functioning within, we're the only African country, of course, part of the G20, and recently in India, the AU was recently a member. So when you're talking about financial institutions and issues of reform, considering that we have to function within the global financial architecture, these are issues that are discussed at that level, because it means South Africa and many other developing countries adversely affect by having to adapt to some of these really unfair expectations, including example, you spoke on well, you alluded to ethical financing. South Africa was recently, well, not recently, but we were grey-listed, right? We're a member of FATF, I saw recently that the UAE, I think, and Turkey were recently removed. South Africa needs to work very hard to get out of that, because it means we don't get certain concessions, but we also feel that we're working under serious challenges that are historical. And by that, I mean that we need to adhere to certain principles. For example, South Africa's financial architecture, I think, is quite advanced on the continent, in the sense that we've also been able to insulate ourselves from 2008 shocks. We were able to do that quite successfully. So yeah, I think there are tools that are being managed in this regard, and it's being discussed at the very high level. Thank you.
Credit rating. Credit rating. Okay. So I was told that this is a career day, but the questions are becoming theoretical. Professor. Yeah, so now as we're dealing with concepts. So you're quite correct in terms of the rating. I'm responding to your credit rating question and linking it to what Mr. Boy was saying, that South Africa is with the Global South on what seems to be an unfair international financial institutions towards developing countries, because we have to pay higher interest when we take international loans. But we need the loans. We are the ones who need the loans more. So there are talks of other alternatives, such as a BRICS rating institution, but they're only at a talks level. However, that does not mean that we still do not support the already set credit rating. We're just asking for a fair-based system, taking countries, just development, if you were speaking in terms of SDG language, just development, just concessions, so that every country has the ability to develop itself. If Zimbabwe now has gold, how do we leverage that gold so that they can lend at a rate that will not cripple the generations for 100 years, for example? So that's the view of South Africa. And that is the language that we take to the G20, for example. That is the language that we take to SADC, saying, how do we put in place mechanism that can protect the regional economies, for example? So looking at that, in terms of, I'm just going to touch a bit on the networking issue. You need to speak out. Attend such events. If there's somebody you think might be able to engage with you. Remember, network is not only about benefit. Don't network with somebody just you want to get something out of them. Just to make a connection, because that person you just said hello to, they might not be able to help you at that point in time, but they might know somebody else. So even your colleagues in here, you network with them after this.
Can I just say it? I just want to quickly mention, there's this notion that says we FM. Have you ever heard of that? WIIFM. What's in it for me? An example of you is absolutely brilliant, and I congratulate you on that. We need people like yourself that want to make a difference, that go out and see how can we network. So please speak to me afterwards. I have some connections for you.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk on policy for securitization and immigration. I'm really not, because I don't work for the United Nations, and that's a very important thing that I need to put forward. So I was appointed a UNHCR global ambassador, so I really speak with a voice for those that don't. So that's really where I fall into that. But it is an important question that you've asked, because the media is under threat at the moment. And that is where the media plays an important role, is because we have to, there are online publications. There is fake news out there. There is constant bombardment of things into our head. And whether or not these things are true is where the role of the media comes in. Our role has never changed, and it should never change. It shouldn't be the first. It shouldn't be the most sensational. It should be the truth. We need to find the truth, because in the times of, and let's talk about immigration as one of the issues, because that certainly was a massive point in our elections that we came up to. You'll find politicians using the whole immigration and illegal immigrants that are in the country, and they are the cause of every problem that we have here. I'm sorry, that's not fair. We cannot say that. We cannot say that it is every immigrant that's come into this country and done things illegally, and that's why we're in the state we're in. And that's, it's fair. It's fair to say that. Yes, it is a problem, but it is not our only problem. And so politicians will feed into that. The media will buy into that. And then we'll publish a headline that'll feed into that narrative that then South Africans feed into. And then there's this theme of hatred. And then you get xenophobia. And then that goes into the psyche of South Africans. So we as the media play an exceptionally massive role in exactly what you've asked. What DIRCO do and what international relations do and what policy formulation they make, that's their decisions. But as South Africa stands right now, we're a welcoming country, particularly for refugees. We allow refugees to go into societies and get jobs. But the problem of illegal immigrants is a problem because you have very porous borders. We know that. But we as the media must not play into the hands of those that want to create negative perceptions. And that's an important role for us. And that's how we can help.
So we have negotiated a little bit more time for Q&A. So we're going to go until 10 past, but we're going to keep it strict. And to all our panelists, if you have an answer to any of the questions, please just raise your hand. There's another comment here, and then I will indicate now who we will pass the mics to for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I will also be responding to say what opportunities are there. I think what we also need to do as young people, we need to do more research because of a lot of opportunities are out there. The only problem that we at times do, Professor, is that we want to initiate some things that are already there, that are already been done, only to find out that the scale out there, there is an opportunity or there is a funding. I'll just make an example. There's funding that maybe UN or anyone wants to fund young people who can be able to challenge climate change. Then what we end up doing, we do not end up coming up with such project or such programs that will talk to climate change. We end up doing the programs that we already know about. Then when it's like that, it becomes a problem for us to get opportunities. But also what is also important is that we as young people, we must be aware that also volunteering at any organization, at any companies, gives us that opportunity. I think if we can have that mindset and also the innovative mindset after we've done the research to say, what is the current problem currently globally? Then let's attack that. Then we'll have more opportunities than what we have now. Thank you.
Right, we're going to start with a question on this side of the room, and then I have number 2 and 3 already picked out. Chrisman will give you the mic, but that doesn't mean you don't get to ask your questions. Please use the session afterwards to network, come and ask your questions, but we'll see how we go on time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yuka Soletu, and I'm from the University of Pretoria. My question is directed to Leanne. Given your extensive experience in covering political events and interviewing political figures in South Africa, how do you see the role of media in shaping public opinion and influencing political outcomes? What advice would you give to political science students on the importance of understanding media dynamics in their studies and future careers?
Good day. I'm from the University of Witwatersrand. My question, I think, is applicable to a lot of students, either in undergrad and in postgrad. there's this conception that you can only, if you're in humanities, you can only find a job if you are a master's or honors student or honors graduate. So I wanted to find out, preferably from the professor. I spoke to some of the students and they say at UJ they have quite an extensive, they are accessible, they have they've been granted accessibility to a lot of jobs and opportunities. So what is accessible for undergrads who just have their undergraduate certificate, and is it possible to actually find a job without furthering your studies in these humanities?
Evening, everyone. I'm Sibulelo Kala from the University of Johannesburg, BA Honours Student in Politics and International Relations. My question is to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. It's a bit of a twofold question, asking about the same thing. Number one, what precisely are the requirements for the cadetship, and how does one or who holds a degree similar to mine actually apply and make it through the process, and how rigorous is the selection process? Number two, you have actually been transparent about the fact that this cadetship hasn't actually been happening for a number of years due to funding issues, so on and so forth. Now, the second question, or second part of this question is, if not through cadetship, which is offered by DERCO, how does one train and actually enter the door to being a career diplomat? Thank you.
Okay, and now this is where it becomes challenging and we are really pushed for time. Durka, I'm going to give you exactly 2 minutes, and then I will give each one of our panelists just 1 minute to answer some of those questions that were asked now. I hope you went challenge accepted.
Right, we'll do two parts to it. Yeah, very important question, and in that sense, people would want to know that it is a rigorous process. And like I said, you know, what makes it quite, what differentiated is that you need to indicate your, well, first and foremost, it's very straightforward. Your marks need to be, you know, up there. We also look at people that are well-versed in, you know, like I said earlier, in other organizations. And for us, what's also important is to see, do you have an interest in that, and do you speak another language? Now, the process of that is quite rigorous in the sense that they would take all those thousands of applications and they have to make a huge, what they call a shortlisting process. And in that shortlisting process, they look at marks, they look at demographics of South Africa in terms of, you know, equality and equity, race, gender, and so forth. And then you'd eventually also, this round, we're speaking about, again, doing some kind of an assessment. It has done different in the past, but there's also assessment you have to go through. And sometimes we get a lot of people in that do that as well. The second part, let me just give it over to Lucy, and then maybe you can just answer on that as well.
I'll speak maybe about my experience, what I had to go through, because I came through the cadet program. We had I applied August 2014. October, I was called in for, I didn't know this, but it was an exam. For the entire day, it was 3 exams. You wrote and you were given topics and you had to write about the specific subject. It may have been on media, if I remember correctly, which is important that we have the first panelists, what they were speaking about, and different viewpoints, and the importance of you engaging with media is that you need to see all perspectives. So your argument on paper needs to make sense. It needs to reflect that you are widely read. The other question was, I think, around diplomacy, actually, about DERCO's work. And then the other one was a multiple choice. Not easy, but all of these happened. And we then had to wait to be called back in after, I think, like 5 months. Process is not perfect. There were hundreds of people, as Albert mentions, that there were a lot of people, so it's quite competitive. Went through a interview process. Well, they told me that I was successful, that I could come for an interview process. Even that was, I mean, you're sitting in front of 12 people you understand later when you come into DIRCO why, because the process needs to be fair and clear as to why this person deserves it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And now to our panelists, I'm going to start here and work my way over. 1 minute each. I'm going to time you.
It's perfect. So thank you very much. I think the question came from Hlengiwe about do you need to have a postgraduate qualification, right? So I would say the answer is no. I know of many, we have many graduates who've gone on to have very good careers for themselves without a postgraduate qualification. But increasingly, and this is what we call the nature of the knowledge economy, increasingly, because we're talking about standing out, right? Increasingly, it's difficult to compete, I'll be blunt, compete with people who have these postgraduate qualifications. So I would say it's important and it's strongly advisable. You'll even see the adverts, in fact, they'll say postgraduate qualification, an added advantage or desirable, right? But I would also say it goes back to this experience, a very unfair requirement. And I would say, as I mentioned earlier, we have been doing some lobbying as the University of Johannesburg to ensure that there are robust protections for young people, that in fact your university studies are recognized as experience in themselves, because you do a lot. You can read the article on Daily Maverick, but we not only wrote, we've, as I've said, lobbied, and we sent the sort of memo to the minister. And I'm glad that the president, as of 2 weeks ago, is kind of singing from the same hymn book as us in terms of removing the experience requirement, but it's still limited in that it's restricted to the public service. But what we want to see is basically experience requirements being relaxed across the board, right? So that your undergraduate experience, which is really, it is an experience, is recognized as such. So, and just on the question for Leanne, I know the question about how do, I think this was from you, Kasole, so I hope I'm mentioning that right. Leanne will probably answer it from a different perspective. I will just say, so the question was, what is the importance of political science students understanding the media landscape? Just to sum it up, I would say what we've been doing at the University of Johannesburg is utilizing the media to give our students experience. And this comes down to things like having our students write opinion articles, which are then sent to the various newspapers, and they're treated the same as any columnist or any writer. But once the student has gotten through that hurdle, they have something quite unique in their CV, in that they've been published while they are studying. And we've had students as early as second year being published in the Mail and Guardian, in the Daily Maverick, and so on. And that really makes them stand out. So please do that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'll also emphasize on what the prof has said. In the field of humanitarian, the most important thing, as we said, is assisting another person. And for that, despite that you have your qualification or you don't, you are able to work in this field. The most important thing is that you need to connect to people that you are able to assist at the end of the day. Yes, it is important for us to have qualification so that we could be able to be specialists in certain fields that we'll be working on. But even if without those qualifications, there are numerous people that that we see currently in the world. They are making changes without even those qualifications. The most important thing is that we need to know when you are in this field, you are there for the people, and what is that different that you can do for the people. Thank you.
I'll tell you what the best part about this is. They left the only woman on the panel to speak last. Ladies, thank you. Thank you very much. I just noticed that. Okay, it was about asking hard questions. I'm glad you answered the one about the political science part for there, because that helped me out a lot, and I love that. I think that's amazing. But the job of any journalist, the job of any media person in the media, is to hold leaders to account. We have a very simple job. There are South Africans that want answers, and we are the privileged enough to have the microphone to ask those questions. Don't make friends with politicians. And that's something that I have done my entire career. I will not sit around and socialize with a politician when I know one day they could be sitting in front of me and I've got to ask them questions, because it's very hard to ask your friend to account for something when you know what they've done for you. So it's very important to know the line between working in the industry that you're in and crossing it, because then it's very difficult to do that. So that's our job, is to hold politicians to account. We need to inform the public. That is a simple, simple mandate that the public broadcaster has. No matter where you are in South Africa, if you switch on, and I'm only talking about a television, I'm not talking about your mobile phone, your device, you can pick up SABC. We are here to provide news in the best possible way. And that is our mandate. It is to inform the public of South Africa. So we have a job to inform, and in the right way. That is why we ask the politicians the questions that they do, take the cameras to where they should go and where they need to go. We need to be transparent. We need to enforce politicians to be transparent with us and to not lie and pull the wool over our eyes. There are enough social media users out there that are talking absolute and utter crap on social media. And if you want to believe them, that's fine, but know your facts. Don't be led by fools, okay? And you have to be informed. If there's one thing that I've learned tonight from every single person that's held this microphone has told you to read, inform yourself, look for different sources, know every single topic the best that you possibly can. Do not be blindly led by people that want to achieve the wrong goals in life. Okay, that is vitally important. And the final thing that we are really encouraged to do, and especially you as the youth, is encourage debate. That is what we're here for. You need to question the power. You need to question the way things are done, because if you don't question, things will never change, and things are not right. They are not right, but you know what needs to be done to make them right. And that's what you're here for. Encourage debate and enhance change in any area that you can. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you, everyone. I just want to issue a quick reminder that if you have not yet passed by the IEC stall in the exhibition section outside, please do so, engage with them and sign the register. I'm now going to hand over to Ms. Cynthia Chigwenya from the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung to give you an overview of the scholarship, and then Ms. Elizabeth Sideropoulos will formally close the careers event. Cynthia was also a CAS scholar, by the way.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Just before I get into what the CASI Scholarship is about, may I please have our current scholars coming up front, and then with some of just the gift bags we have for today's speakers. Yeah. So it's a few publications. I think, Leanne, you love one on why journalism. So also, if you want to be very intentional about studying journalism, we have some free copies outside. So please do grab a copy from the CAS stand. Okay, great. All right. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, we have 4 scholars. I think instead of telling you what the CASI Scholarship is about, I decided to make my job a little bit easier, and I'll have the current scholars introduce themselves and tell you what the scholarship is about. But before we do that, let's give them a round of applause. one of the activities you get to do as a CASA scholar is organize this event. So they're responsible for coordination. Some of you are from Pretoria. They were part of organizing that and ensuring that you have all of you today. So thank you so much. I'll give each of them a chance to introduce themselves and tell you one thing they've learned or taken away from the scholarship so far.
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Nancy. I am a current CAS scholar. I am doing my Master of Laws in International Law and currently interning under the Economic Resilience and Inclusion Program here at SAIA. And I would say one thing I have learned, okay, aside from managing priorities between work and school, is the importance of social inclusion in trade policies, because that's what we have been working mostly on under the program. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kachi Okeke. I'm a current CASA scholar. I'm doing my master's in public policy at the Wits School of Governance, and I'm currently attached to the African Governance and Diplomacy program. What I've learned as a CASA scholar essentially has been resilience. It's not very easy. You've got a lot to manage. You've got a lot to juggle. And what I've learned is time management, focus, resilience, as I've said before, and really just grit. You need to be very gritty about the work that you do. And it's been a very rewarding experience so far. And I'm really grateful for being here. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. We were not pre-warned that we would be speaking today. But hello, I am Chrismon Olwachen. I am one of the CAS scholars. I am doing my master's in international relations. I am a UJ graduate, as Prof has said. I am in the office of the chief executive. And what I have learned from the scholarship is a multitude of things, but I think something that I didn't really expect to learn was that I actually really enjoy working with young people, and that maybe that would be something that I will want to do further on in the future. So it's broadened my perspective to what I'm actually interested in. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Garavo. I'm a CASI scholar. I'm doing my master's in political science at Stellies. And yes, so what I've learned is that there's such a thing as future studies. Does anyone know that? Yes, it's a very broad and exciting field. And yeah, that's my highlight, I could say. So thank you.
Good. Thank you so much again. And you guys are welcome to take your seat. I think part of the responsibilities is doing impromptu speeches like we did with them today. Thank you so much. So my name is Cynthia Chigwenya. I'm a program coordinator at the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Some of you in the youth spaces would know me. I served as the youth ambassador for Southern Africa with the African Union. Also a graduate from the Humanities faculty at the University of Johannesburg and Wits as a CASA scholar. And I think I'd say that the CASA scholarship prepared me for most of the work that I have done now. I interned in the then economic diplomacy program, and you could be researching the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The next thing you're researching African governance, and it really gives you footing into different topics on the international agenda. So what I'm here to do is to advertise the program, but I think you're already sold. How many of you are interested in applying for the scholarship? Okay, I think we have a lot of work to do this year with screening the applications. So the scholarship is structured in two ways. Thank you. The scholarship is structured in two ways. You get to pursue your master's degree either here at the University of Witwatersrand or at UCT or Stellenbosch. I think there was one question regarding why it is not at the University of Johannesburg. I had that specific challenge in my year, but it's also so that you gain from the research as well housed here at SIA. So you get to do your master's degree, but you're also interning and actually working Monday to Friday at SIA. So that is why it is structured that way. The Konrad Adenauer Stiftung will sponsor your full tuition when we take you up as a CASIA scholar. And it comes with a monthly stipend, which I will not disclose. But it really is a good stipend. I can attest. And some of our scholars look good, so you can tell that they're well paid. they're well paid scholars. So the tuition goes directly to the university, and then you get monthly stipends for the duration of your scholarship. So that's just one part, but you also, I think you get access to networks. One of the participants asked about networks. You get access to networks that SIA has as a leading foreign affairs think tank, and also the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung's network. So I think overall that is that. In terms of the applications open today, and they close on the 21st of September. And because you guys attended the careers event, I'm going to give you one spoiler, which is that one of the questions is actually based on the careers event. So please make sure that you are listening attentively. If you do go through the application process, there's a quiz you need to finish. So one of the questions, that quiz, which has 60 questions, is actually on the CASIA careers event. So please do that. There's a range of questions ranging from international relations, politics, current affairs, and some of the international relations or politics theories. So that is the way in which we go about selecting the participants, and then we come up with the top 10 for both Johannesburg and Cape Town. And from that shortlist, we end up with about 4 or 5 scholars. So the current scholars or previous scholars really do work hard to get awarded the scholarship. So I think in a nutshell, that's all you need to know for now. If you do intend to apply for the scholarship, please reach out to the 4 scholars that presented here and ask. That's one of the reasons why they had to come here, so you see their faces. Please do reach out to them, but also reach out to us. There's information on our digital media platforms regarding or for inquiries regarding the scholarship. So that's, I think, overall how we manage the scholarship. It's managed on 2 ends by the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung as well as SIA. So it's a joint fellowship, and we coordinate that throughout the year. This is all that I have to say. If there are any questions, we're only going to take 3 because time is fast spent. So if there are any scholarship related questions, we'll only take about 3. And I note you first, second person. I must have been very clear, so we'll take only 1 question.
Thank you so much. My question. Okay, I think I'll just. Okay. My question is basically, does the CAS-SIA scholarship apply to international students as well? Because I'm an international student, and when it comes to bursaries and scholarships for masters and beyond, it's really difficult. So I wanted to find out if it also applies to international students as well.
Sure.
Coolies, any other questions? Okay.
Hello, my name is Michali, and I'm from the University of Johannesburg, and I quickly wanted to inquire about the scholarship. So if I'm getting this right, you click on that link and then there's a Google form, and you fill in certain details and the motivational letter. How many phases are there? Because now I'm hearing that there are like, what, 60 questions. How many, like, what does the process, thank you. You're not the the application process and like the different phases of recruitment. How does that go about? Okay, thank you so much.
So there's one more person at the back, and then we'll take one online question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Kumalo. So I wanted to ask with regards to the scholarship, right? I am a student who is within sciences. I major in geography. So I wanted to ask, do you have to be specifically studying politics and international relations to receive the scholarship? Because in my research interests, they lie also broadly within international relations work and politics work. So I wanted to ask on that, do you have to be specifically studying international relations or politics?
All right. I'll respond to the three questions that we got because there aren't any questions online. And the first one was, are international students eligible to get the scholarship? And the response is yes. You are allowed. I was an international student when I applied for the Kasaya scholarship. So it's a merit-based scholarship. It's not a needs-based scholarship. So we do consider applicants who are international students, but also applicants you might generally consider to be from well-off backgrounds. It's merit-based. You get this because you show research potential, you performed well academically, and other aspects that SAYA will be looking for. So you are eligible to apply. The second question was from Mihlali, and Mihlali, you asked about the phases. It's a lot. It really is a lot. It's a very rigorous selection process. I think to come up with the top 4 or top 5 scholars that we have, we really need to sift through and know that we have the best of the best. And that doesn't mean that you need to have the toppest marks in your academics. It ranges from different things. Your research potential. Are you able to work with others when you're placed in the different SAYA programs? Are you able to work in a team to organize an event like this? So it's a number of things that we look at. In terms of the technical stuff, you start with the application process. It lands you on a landing page where you put in your biographical information. So your age, we did limit it to up to 35 years. So you put in your age, you put in where you're based, whether you would want to be an intern here at SAYA in Johannesburg, or you'd want to be with the SAYA Western Cape branch. And when you've put in that information and you are eligible, then it takes you to the quiz. And then after the quiz, we do another selection, and then we bring about 10 to 12 people for the interviews. And then after the interviews, we select the 5 or 4 scholars rather we end up with. So that is, I think, in a nutshell, the selection process. It is a lot, but definitely worth it. I think it's worth going through if you're interested. And then the last question was on IR. Do I really need to study international relations or politics to be awarded the scholarship? The answer is no. One of the scholars from this year, Nancy, is studying law. I think on the call for applications, we also have people that are studying journalism, geography. So it's really, it is quite broad within the social sciences and humanities disciplines. What you need to be cautious of is whether you'll be able to be placed within the different SAYA programs. And that is key. So you could be doing fantastic work, but the idea of the scholarship is to have you pursue your studies and assigned to a mentor whom then you will work with throughout the year. So if we cannot place you and provide that mentorship, then it will be challenging. But in terms of the subjects, as long as it speaks to some of the programs we have at SAYA, then you're eligible to apply. So I think those are the 3 questions that I had. If you want the specific link to apply for the 2025 Kasaya scholarship, it's already been advertised on the SAYA pages, and you can be on the lookout for our social media pages for both the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung and the South African Institute of International Affairs. I think my job here is done. Thank you very much.
Thanks. No, thanks very much.
Forgot to.
No, don't worry. I don't need to. Thanks very much, Cynthia. Just to add to what Cynthia said, clearly, in today's world, when you're talking about international relations, I think it's a transversal discipline. You have to know sufficient, it's good to have a legal background, it's good to have a trade background, an economics background, public policy background. Kachi, one of our current CAS SCI scholars, is doing his master's at the Wits School of Governance. But clearly there needs to be a link back to the work that we're doing. And so geography, as I understand it, is a discipline that does cover some of the areas that we cover, but clearly it would have to be, yeah, I'm not quite sure what it's called, but it's clearly not the geomorphology dimensions of geography, but certainly some of the more political, social science dimensions. So just to make that point. So you've been here a long time. I think you all want to get some refreshments and have the opportunity to network. Just one last thing from my side, really to thank all our speakers. And I'm just going to go in, and I hope to remember everybody's names, because these days I'm definitely not a young person. I'm just going to blame it on my age. So Lusu, Basu, I know. Sotong, who followed me today, and I let him into the parking. Cabello. And I know Leanne had to leave, and Albert. Really a very, very big thank you to all of you. I think you've been inspirational, not just to the young people, but also to the oldies. To Dr. Holger Dix, to Cynthia Ngwenya, there we go. And of course to the wonderful team at SCI as well. Both the 4 interns that you saw, as well as former interns that are that have also helped to supervise and manage, which is Laura and Isabel, as well as Jordan. Jordan McLean has been manning the line, so to speak. Dumi Nkokla, who's our events a coordinator, and our events manager, Sarasa Anand Malay, who is somewhere outside. So really very big thank you. I think also to Keti Chitambira, just from SCI's perspective. And I know there are probably people that I've left out, but I hope there is food for thought there for you, that it's made you, it's inspired you, and that many of you will also be able to apply to the CAS scholarship. And of course, a big thank you to our comms team and to the technicians. I know technology doesn't always work, but anyway, we live in hope. All right, guys, thank you very much. And until next year.